Will you call on Doug Ford not to wait for Carney to reconvene Parliament, but rather to issue a statement that there will be no more prosecutions of homeowners who defend their homes, just as a matter of policy, because right now his prosecutors are going after Jeremy McDonald, whose home was invaded in Lindsay, Ontario.
And those are provincial prosecutors who are doing that?
Yes.
Well, I think that's a great idea.
Ezra Levant for Rebel News. I'm in Brampton, Ontario at a Pierre Poilievre news conference where he's going to roll out his ideas for a castle law. You know what that means. A man's home is his castle. There's been headlines recently about a man from Lindsay, Ontario named Jeremy McDonald who was asleep in his home at 3 a.m. when a serial criminal out on bail broke in with a crossbow. Jeremy defended himself. There was an altercation and the intruder was sent to hospital, but Jeremy, the homeowner, was prosecuted. An outrageous event, but all too common in the crime wave that is Canada now.
Crime is raging to such a point where people are now demanding the ability to defend themselves in their own homes because they know the law will not defend them. And rightly, Canadians believe that they need to defend themselves if an intruder who's probably out on bail for the 100th time under Liberal laws comes into the house, and frankly, they should have the right to defend themselves and their property against an intruder. But it is sad that we've come to a place where people feel the law will not protect them, and Mr. Carney has sent home Canadian MPs while crime, the cost of living, housing costs, immigration are all up, while elbows are down.
Crime's out of control across Canada, and it's no surprise. There's a combination of things. Mass immigration from low-trust societies is part of it, but I think the anti-police ideology of big city mayors is another part of it. Finally, I think police are afraid if they do the wrong thing, if they overreact, they'll be the ones on trial. I think police have pretty much been ordered to stand down. Trouble is, they were what was standing between crime and citizens. Crime has skyrocketed, so much so that Canada now has a higher violent crime rate than the United States, with the exception of murder itself. Those are shocking statistics that a generation ago no one would have believed. I think an emblem of where we are now was that Toronto police officer who a few months back gave advice to people who didn't want home invasion robberies and said, just keep your key fob near the front door so that the home invaders don't have to go rummaging around your house. Remember when he said that? Take a look.
To prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door, because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns, they're real guns. They're loaded.
Yeah, well, ordinary civilians are not built for fighting crime. That's the police's job. But when people do stand up for themselves and defend their homes, they are the ones who are prosecuted by police. It's as if the government is saying, we won't protect you, but you better not protect yourself. There's been a spate of home invasions, and then there was a case of Jeremy McDonald, the man from Lindsay, Ontario, who decided he wasn't going to wait around for police. He was going to save himself from a 3 a.m. home invasion.
You just mentioned the incident in Lindsay, Ontario, and you posted about it on social media earlier this week. Do you think Canada needs a castle law or a castle doctrine on the books to shield homeowners from facing criminal prosecution like the gentleman in Lindsay, Ontario, for defending their loved ones and properties during a break-in?
The law needs to be clear that if someone comes into your house uninvited to steal your property or harm your family, you need to be able to do whatever is necessary to stop them.
Let's go listen to Pierre Poilievre and see if we can ask him a question or two.
Based on the principle that your home is your castle, we're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law, failing which one of our party's MPs will put forward such a bill. It will amend Section 34.2 of the Criminal Code, which right now says that you can defend yourself based on 9 very complicated and vague conditions. Now look, if you're defending your house, you don't have time to think through 9 different conditions. You have one condition: to protect yourself and your kids. And it is wrong for the law, for the police, and for judges to apply a complicated, indecipherable legal doctrine against you when you were only doing what is right. Our amendment instead will change section 34.2 of the Criminal Code to say that the use of force, including lethal force, is presumed reasonable against an individual who unlawfully enters a house and poses a threat to the safety of anyone inside. The proposed amendment is reasonable and prudent. It applies only to the unlawful entry of a home and preserves proportionality. Simply put, it means you have the right to use force to defend your home and your family against someone who threatens you and who has entered illegally. This bill will also put Canada in line with other developed civilized countries. Ireland, several Australian states, Spain, the United Kingdom, and some American states already have this principle embedded. And it will make sure that Canadians are treated right for a change. We think that our role in this Parliament is to put forward good ideas. And so my message to Mr. Carney is steal our best ideas. Work with us. Let's get it done. Let's put our country first. Who cares who gets the credit? Take our ideas so that we can reverse not only the crime and chaos Liberals have caused, but let's also take these ideas to bring the cost of living, immigration, and unemployment down. Keep our people safe. Let's put our country first. Let's once again work together, all of us from all parties, to make this a country where everyone who works hard gets a beautiful house in a safe street with good food on the table, united under our proud Canadian flag. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Yes, Ezra.
Thanks for having me here, Ezra Levant from Rebel News. For years before marijuana was decriminalized, it was the position of police and prosecution not to charge anyone with small amounts in possession. So they didn't wait for the Parliament. I see that Mark Carney's favorite premier, Doug Ford, has said he's for the castle law.
Did everyone hear about the story in Lindsay? So this criminal that's wanted by the police breaks into this guy's house. This guy gives him a beating, and this guy gets charged. And the other guy gets charged. But something is broken. I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you possibly can to protect your family. I'm telling you, I know everyone would. I get more calls than anyone in the country. People are done with this. They're absolutely done. They're finished. You should be able to protect your family. When someone's going in there to harm your family and your kids, you should use all resources you possibly can to protect your family. And maybe these criminals will think twice about breaking into someone's home.
And other provinces like Alberta have said that too.
Well, if you don't want to get shot or beaten up, don't break into people's houses. It's pretty straightforward.
Will you call on Doug Ford not to wait for Carney to reconvene Parliament, but rather to issue a statement that there will be no more prosecutions of homeowners who defend their homes just as a matter of policy, because right now his prosecutors are going after Jeremy McDonald, whose home was invaded in Lindsay, Ontario.
And those are provincial prosecutors who are doing that?
Yes.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I don't know the legal powers that a premier has to direct the prosecution service, so I would not comment on it. But I would hope prosecutors would stop going after law-abiding people who are defending their property. We need prosecutors to go after criminals. Now, as for their ability to do that, I've never been a Crown prosecutor, so I don't know. We have a Crown prosecutor here, in Larry Brock, so maybe he can jump in on this. But I will say this: we need to change the law. Let's make the law clear. Let's bring into place the idea that your home is your castle, so that no prosecutor, judge, or police officer can ever go after someone who is defending their home against an invader who presents a threat. Do you have anything to add, Larry? Prosecutor. This is the prosecutor.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader. Although Crown prosecutors in every province, particularly in Ontario, maintain independence, so long as they can justify that independence, they are still directed policy-wise by the Attorney General. In this case, the Attorney General of Ontario being Doug Downey. To answer your question, Mr. Levant, Mr. Downey has that ability to perhaps direct Crowns in light of what we are doing at a federal level to reflect upon the change in legislation we hope is about to come.
So you were the former senior prosecutor. The law is the law, but the government can decide what the legal priorities are for prosecutions. How would it work if a province like Ontario or Alberta decided to take the lead and stop prosecuting homeowners who defend themselves? That's a legal thing that's just a policy decision, right?
Well, it is, and I spoke in response to your question in very general terms, because every case is, as you know, is fact specific, right? So that's why I started by saying every assistant Crown and Crown attorney maintains a degree of independence. And that independence is free of any interference from a Crown manager, a Crown director, or in this case, all the way to the top of the chain, being the Attorney General. So long as the decision made by that Crown attorney can be justified by policy and by law. So to answer your question, given the outpouring of concern that a number of people have, a number of police unions are speaking out against this, police associations are speaking out against this, and in this case Doug Ford is speaking out against this, he has the ability to have that discussion with his minister. And that minister has the ability to direct Crowns across the province to really reflect on that decision to continue a prosecution.
I find there's a great gulf between what Premier Ford says. He says he stands in solidarity with his homeowner, but it is his domain. The prosecutors and police are within provincial jurisdiction too. I suppose he could say, look, unless there's an egregious case, we're just not going to put resources to it. Like he could change this without waiting for Parliament, right?
He can't change the law,
but he can he can say it's not in my assessment of the public interest of Ontario is we're not going to put resources.
Yeah, and but that's not his domain.
That's the Attorney General.
That's the domain of the Attorney General, flowing down right to the Crown prosecutor, who has carriage of, in this case, the Mackenzie file. You've got to ask yourself two questions, Ezra, as a Crown attorney, whether it's a shoplifting charge all the way to a multi-homicide case. Is there a reasonable prospect of a conviction? Is the evidence such that you receive from the Crown that you can produce evidence to the court to establish proof beyond a reasonable doubt? And secondly, and most importantly to your point, is there a public interest in continuing the prosecution? So what I have seen from Crowns across this great country of ours is they have relied on the public interest to discontinue a prosecution involving a homeowner who have defended themselves. But again, it's very case specific. It depends on the circumstances, it depends on the time of the day, it depends on the force that was used, the weapon that was brandished, a whole litany of factors. And that's why Pierre is saying we don't want a judge to second guess the immediate decisions made by a homeowner.
At 3 a.m. in the dark.
Precisely. Right? You've literally got seconds to make a decision. And your first instinct is to protect your family.
Right. Thank you for this education. I know you were in the heart of these decisions as a prosecutor.
I was.
So I can imagine that this bill that your leader proposes really reflects how it really is for prosecutors.
Well, we're seeking to clarify this area so that right now we have a massive gray area when it comes to defense of home and defense of property. We're hoping to make it much more clear, give more confidence to police to lay a charge
the 9
or
factors
not.
It could be confusing.
But more importantly, I think it signals an intent by the federal government in the hopes that it deters for these individuals to commit this heinous act.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nice to
All
talk
the
with you.
best. Okay.
There he is, Larry Brock, Member of Parliament for Brantford Brant.
Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Got it. Thanks very
Okay.
much. That's the name
Thank
of the
you.
district. Well, I'm glad Pierre Poilievre and Larry Brock are putting forward that bill to Parliament. But as you could see in my question, I don't think we actually have to wait for Parliament. Provincial premiers can make the public policy decision not to put any resources, not to prosecute or charge people for defending their homes. Remember, that's what happened with marijuana laws decades before it was legalized. Police simply did not lay charges if you had a modest amount. Maybe they'd make you throw the joint in the gutter or something. Police decided that was not in the public interest to focus on for crime fighting. And I think that Doug Ford has been talking so tough about supporting the victims of home invasions, but he's the one whose prosecutors are going after these people. So let's see what happens. But I felt like today was a good use of my time. It was very nice to be invited to a press conference to put a question that was answered both by the leader of the party and by a criminal justice expert, Larry Brock, the MP. And I think my idea sort of perked their ears up a bit. So I'm glad I came out here today. If you want to join the battle to defend Jeremy McDonald, we're crowdfunding. He's the man in Lindsay, Ontario, who had the home invasion. He's the one being charged. He's a man of modest means. Go to savejeremy.com. I'm here in Brampton, Ontario, where Pierre Poilievre is talking about home invasions and a castle law. To learn more, go to castlelawnow.com.